This is episode 2 of Conversations on My Bedroom Floor. This is the weight of an emotionally unavailable parent. So I'm just gonna dive right. I'll give you like a little bit about my background on this, what I've learned, and kind of my view of it, and the key points of the weight of an emotionally unavailable parent, and then how I'm healing or how I'm trying to grow. So I didn't realize like what situation I had. Like I think many people, you have the situation you have and you think it's normal until you get a little bit older, have different experiences, and you realize, oh, maybe that wasn't so normal, right? And I don't have like an official diagnosis, but I would just venture to say that the diagnosis of my situation with my parents are that they're both emotionally unavailable. Um, and I've read a lot of psychology, like to try and figure out, like, is it this? Is it that? Is there narcissism here? What is this? Is it toxic? Is it whatever? And it's just like, I don't know, man. I feel like if your parents really do try and express love in any way, and you know that they do, they just aren't great in one area, it's not, some extreme like narcissism or something like that. There's always going to be areas where we really need some help and some improvement. That's true for them, that's true for us. So I really realized something was wrong with, I think I was like either 22 or 23. And maybe a little bit older, I'm not sure. And I was trying to like understand how a situation had kind of escalated because I didn't understand how it escalated. And I calmly like went to talk to my mom and I said like, can you tell me like what I did wrong or all this stuff, like genuinely, no attitude or anything. And it just like nothing I said was good enough. It was like, oh yeah, you never do anything wrong. And what else did she say? She said like, um, nothing is ever your fault and all this stuff. Like it was just like she just kept coming back at me and I'm like, I am not trying to fight here. I'm literally trying to diffuse the situation. This is insane. This is insane and I'm exiting. And I walked away and I remember feeling like so defeated. Like I'm like, it's like it didn't matter how respectful I was, it didn't matter how like I was, like it came across as aggression, as a fight for her. And I'm like, this is crazy. And it was manipulative, and I felt manipulated, and I realized that this had been a pattern, and I got really upset. I got upset because it was hurting. Not only, like, what the issue was really stupid, but I was upset that this happened, and I was upset that it took me so long to realize. And I went through a really dark period of time, really, really heightened anxiety and everything. Fortunately, I've been able to have healing, so I'm really appreciative of that. But our issues have not like gotten like better, to be honest. I've healed without the situation really changing. And I'm really, really appreciative of that. Um but yeah, my background is just like not being able to connect or bear my feelings to either parents. Just to give you kind of like a little idea, I have asked both of them on separate occasions. First of all, I've lived with my mom my whole life. Um my dad had been like in and out of the picture. And so that's already an emotional kind of injury, right? And um both of them I had asked in a moment of heated like back and forth or whatever, I had asked for some space. I said like, look, like I can't handle this right now. Like, can you just please like give me some space? I was asking just like that, to be honest. Um, but because I know my capacity and I know how much they were pushing me and I know their capacity, and I'm like, yeah, no, this ain't it. Both of them, again, they're not like married. We're not all living together. Like, my mom's over here, my dad's over here. Both of them reacted by saying stuff like, oh yeah, I'll give you space, like, and then you won't have anyone, blah blah blah, and like you're gonna have no one because you want space, and all like just insane behavior, wild work. Okay. um there was other stuff said, but oh yeah, at the height of me asking for that, because there was one incident with my mom and then there was one with my dad, and then I said, you know what, I can't even ask for space, man. But where my mom got upset by me asking that, like she took it as a personal offense and ended up like screaming at me. It sounds so insane. I don't want to talk too much about this, but yeah, it got really escalated and wild. And all I can say is that both of them reacted in the same way. Both of them took me just needing space to try and help us both parties. They both took it as like a personal like thing against them, or maybe they just were like, oh, I'm in fighting mode now, so anything you say can and will be held against you. Let's go. Like, I don't know what the deal was, but I was just like, this is insane work. Anyways, so that maybe will give you kind of an idea of where I'm coming from with all of this, that it's like, even that is just like an offense. And to be honest, and I'll circle back to this point, I try my best not to ask my parents for anything. I don't ask for money. I don't ask for um I don't ask, I don't come to them for the most part, unless it's something I know, like they know about. Like, I don't ask for anything, unfortunately. So I was listening to this psychologist talk about what it looks like to have an emotionally unavailable parent, and I was like, dang, this is helping me so much because it's so true. And she was talking about, I can't remember all that she said, but she made a really good point about the fact that there is a inherent selfishness that will be present because this type of person, and this doesn't just have to be parents, but I think that it's significant that we have conversations about this, pertaining to parent child relationships, because this is kind of a new consideration that parents can miss the mark, parents can be this or that, and you know we should try and do better. All of us should. Um, but she had said that there's this inherent selfishness because they don't know how to manage their emotions. Your emotions and theirs all kind of intertwined. They don't have the capacity to deal with you, whatever. And I'm like, bro, this actually is the most of all the like diagnoses that I've tried to make for the situation. This helps me the most because it actually like kind of frees me a little bit. The other ones actually honestly made me feel more weighed down to say like, oh, it's abuse or anything like that. And by the way, what I shared was like a lower level version of my situation. Like, it's definitely gone worse than that, but still, like, I never wanted to give it that label because I just don't see it as that. I don't want to. I don't like it. Um, but she was explaining all this, and there was a freedom that came, and I'm like, you know what? This is probably just what it is. It's probably just someone not being available. And like looking back at it and looking at the situation, I realized like that's what it kind of feels like it boils down to. And I feel like this area of emotional issues, negligence, specifically with parents and their children, but any negligence really is not something that is talked enough about because people quickly say like abuse or whatever the case is. And not only are they different, but they should also be considered and handled differently. And I think the healing process and yeah, the consideration, just it needs to look different depending on what you're dealing with. So it kind of irritates me a little bit that people are so quick to like slap that label on just anything and everything, especially nowadays. um but yeah, so I just that's how I see it. That's what I believe that it is just a lack of capacity to be able to be there, basically. um and I see that, and going back to what the psychologist said, she said like, you know, someone basically emotionally unavailable will make their problems your problems, and your problems will become about them. They'll have no capacity to like compartmentalize, to say, no, this person is hurting and I need to help them and I need to like be there for them and in the way that they need, not just like how I want to be, like just trying to solve your problems or something like that. And the reverse is also true. Like they don't know how to compartmentalize with their own stuff, and they will make their problems your problems, make you their therapist. On the low level of this, I have a friend who talked to me about having a mom that was like that, and I'm like, oh wow, that's a lot. We all got problems, okay? um where she had a mom that would just like bear everything to her, and I'm like, I have the exact opposite problem. Actually, I have the exact opposite problem. Your parent will bear everything, mine won't bear anything except like anger, except which she can bear. And so they don't know how to compartmentalize and make their stuff. You'll either be their therapist or their punching bag. And that would be kind of like how I'd summarize my situation. um so anyways, the toll that this takes is really a lot. Like it's not really something I think that can really be measured, but here are some categories in which it's really really affected me and just kind of been a burden for me. One of those is that it's just a burden. Point blank, period. It's just a burden to grow up in a situation where you have no emotional safety, where you being upset is seen as like a personal offense to them. Like you are not even allowed to be upset with them because how dare you? How could you? Like, do you know what I've done for you? Kind of mentality without even saying it. I know some parents will go as far as to say stuff like that, but and it's like, okay, how do you expect me to be an emotionally functioning adult if literally you invalidate every emotion that I have? even sometimes positive ones, because it's like too much for you, you know. So it's been a burden, and which has caused in it a tremendous weight since an early age that has only, you know, when you're young, you tend to internalize a whole lot, unfortunately. And so it's one of those things where I did that. I internalized a lot, and then emotionally it messed me up a lot, because it's like I was carrying the weight of my own stuff, and then my mama's stuff and her mama's stuff, probably. um so it's this inherent burden that you take on, which emotionally stunts you. I, to this day, still have problems with being vulnerable and being able to, or being comfortably vulnerable in most situations. I actually feel like I don't know how. And that feels really stupid, to be honest. Like, I feel kind of like, you just open up, duh. But it's like, but how? Like, I don't get it. Because for me, I mean, that's awesome if you know how. And I applaud that. That's how it should be, I think. But for me, opening up meant invalidation or a lecture on how wrong I am for thinking, for feeling a certain way. Someone said something interesting, and I don't know how true this is. It's a perspective thing, but they said no feeling is wrong or invalid. It's only like how you actually respond, but the actual feeling isn't. I find that interesting. I don't know. I'd like to unpack that a little bit, but let me move on. So, it's a burden emotionally. It will stunt you. This has affected me with every relationship I've had. It's been various kinds of relationships. I mean, it's been difficult to open up to someone, because it's like I don't know what that even looks like. I don't know a scenario where that's safe, and that's really sad. Socially, this obviously affects me, because if I can't really connect emotionally, it's hard to. I mean, I can connect on a surface level. And it's funny because I'm like so not that type of a person. I'm such a I want to connect on a deep level. So it's really like, I don't know, man. Oh boy, it's been a ride. There was another area in which this affected me, which I forgot. I can't remember, but going back to the emotional thing, it's made me feel, or may, hmm, yeah, it's made me feel very unsure of self. So, confidence level. Very, very unsure of self, because it's always like, you're wrong. Your emotions are wrong. Your feelings are wrong. Your interpretation of this is wrong. Blah, 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 blah. And it's like, when am I ever right? Why am I always so wrong? I think about this is not only my circumstance, but some of my friends. I've heard them talk about how their parents would casually say stuff like, you'll never, whatever the case, you'll never find a place to live, you'll never find a husband, or if you do, like, it's gonna be like this, or like what, like, just really like kind of offhanded remarks that it's like, what, why are you even like, what are you getting out of releasing that negativity? What are you doing? What, like, why? Um, so obviously, yes, it affects you emotionally, socially, and it's like it's hard to know like where you stand at all, what to believe at all, because it's like, am I really just like always wrong? Am I really like the problem all the like you don't know what to do with that, especially as a young kid. So it's really one of those things. It's just it's a lot. It's really a lot. And it's even affected me a bit mentally because there has been a lack of growth. I feel like emotionally, I've always wanted to, I've always kind of had an idea of, if there's an issue, we can talk it out. We don't have to like yell, we don't have to argue, we can just, speak, whatever. But it hadn't been met, right? And so for me, like, it really kind of, I don't know how to really explain this, but it really kind of messed with me like mentally, in the fact that it made me kind of like short circuit a little bit, because it just was so far from the reality that I thought it should be, or like how things should go, if that makes sense. That it's just like, don't know how to like compute, like I don't know. Like, and yeah, I mean the emotional and the mental are very, very close, closely tied together. um but yeah, it's affected me in pretty much every excuse me, in almost every area of my life. There was another one. I'm so mad I can't remember what it was. Oh, yeah, I think it was the fact that, this goes back to my first point, the burden thing. The fact that I've taken on the burden of someone not being available, and that's just been from day one. It's like, I don't even know, again, how to be vulnerable and how to not do that. I'm trying to unlearn that, actually, because it's been too much of a weight. Sorry, too much of a weight for me. I've realized as life is starting to like progress a little bit for me and move on, that it's like, I can't do this. I can't be taking on anybody's and everybody's thing. And I can't be taking on yours either. Like, you gotta work that out. I don't know. Whatever anger, whatever anxiety, you gotta work that out. Um, and that's not to say like I don't want to be here for people, but everybody has a capacity, right? And yeah, it's been like, I had to carry, like, I had to be like that emotional punching bag. I had to be like the carrier of the weight of whatever mama was going through, whatever daddy was going through, whatever. And I kind of had to be okay, to be honest. It's like, because I wasn't validated, and honestly it still goes on. It's like, you don't get to be upset about this, you don't get to be, and it's just so difficult, you know it's so difficult. I remember like every single time I've ever expressed anger with my mom, she's always said like, look at you getting so angry, like, what are you angry about, blah blah blah, I could just feel how angry you are, blah blah blah, and like literally antagonizing me, right? And it's like, are you trying to start something? Are you trying to get a fight going? And it's just really hard, because it's like, I'm literally not allowed to. That might sound like a little bit of a jump to say, like, you're not allowed to feel angry. But when I tell you, it's been every single time, even if the anger wasn't towards her, one of the worst moments we had, I'm not going to go into the details of it, but it was really, really bad. Like, really bad. And it was because I was upset about something that happened to me, and like she wanted me to tell her or whatever, and I just didn't really want to, but I was angry, and it was just like, oh my gosh, we're about to like, someone's about to go to jail because this is like really not good. Whatever. Anyways, is that's been really, really hard to not be able to have that safety net, to know that basically I have to put down my emotions, my feelings, my whatever every single time for someone else. It's been really hard. But the good thing is that there is healing to be had there. Um so I would just encourage anyone, like, if your parents, if you could tell that they try, if you could tell that they love you, consider that maybe they're not like the most toxic, manipulative, gaslighty, whatever you want to call it, people. Maybe they just are emotionally not it. And a lot of that is realizing that they themselves weren't taught or shown that. My mom was probably not shown gentleness for most of her childhood, if at all, to be honest, and my father as well. And you can't give what you don't have. It was never, it, I can't, how do I say this? They were never allowed to be vulnerable. They were never allowed to cry. They were never allowed to be emotional. So I'm not allowed to be. I'm not saying it's right. And I'm definitely, if I ever have kids, I am not continuing that at all. But I'm just saying, like, they weren't allowed to have feelings. They weren't allowed. And to be honest, I look back at it, and this is where the healing comes in. So, grace, I love the idea of extending grace. It's so much freedom is found in grace. But realizing it from the perspective of, oh, you never got shown that. So, of course, you don't have to give. You just, took what you got and just, lived life, whatever, and then passed down what you had. Not being able to give what you couldn't give. But to be honest, I feel like when you look back at grace, look back at a situation with grace, you'll realize that a lot of times parents will give more than even they had in the areas that they didn't have. My mom was not raised by her parents. My mom wasn't, she was raised by two elderly ladies. And one of them was kind of cold and distant, and then one of them was a little more sweet, but I don't know if she really got, I don't remember the story exactly, how close she was with her. And for some reason I feel like she wasn't in her life very long, like she ended up dying. I can't remember, but her my mom's example of motherly love is not the best. And that's many of our parents, especially if you're around my age and have boomer parents. That's many of them. You know, they they came from a time where you don't really get to talk about your feelings that much. Actually, one thing that I've heard my mom say, and I've heard other people say, is children were taught to be seen, not heard. So there was no, how do you feel about that? Or, maybe how was your day? Like, no, 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 no. Talk when you are You speak when spoken to, and that's it. No weighing in. No, I just feel like. So I try to exercise grace with that. I also think if you're a BIPOC person listening to this, you'll understand that BIPOC parents do not do it the same way as here in the West. And that's always created this really weird division. Well, I've only recently realized that that's an element to the division that I feel with myself and the society that I come from, is that it's like, oh, like, yeah, we don't talk about our feelings. Like, not like advocating for that, but we don't talk about our feelings. So I don't know, it's just, it's different depending on where you come from, depending on where your parents come from. So walking with grace has helped me tremendously, given me a whole lot of freedom with this. I at one point definitely considered like the low contact or no contact thing. But my issue with that is, while people say like, oh, I feel so much more at peace, blah, 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 I don't think that's healing. Like, just because you have peace doesn't mean you have healing, because you can have peace because, you know, you've blocked that person or whatever the case is, but then another storm will arise and it's like, oh, well, there goes my peace, you know? Or something will happen where you have to unblock them, especially like more so if it's a family member or something like that. You have to get in contact with them, whatever. And it's like, oh, well, I just feel like peace needs to be more permanent than that. It needs to be something that's like, it's a choice. Okay, regardless of how you gonna act, I'm gonna have peace. Okay, say whatever you want. I choose to walk in peace, and I choose to walk in grace. And that grace lends itself to a consideration that maybe I didn't have, but I'm certain that them before me also did not have, or sorry, within their childhood they didn't have. Or maybe they're giving me what they got in their childhood. I don't know, but most people, I've realized, like, I think I talked about this in the last video, but maybe not. Like, we have to lower our expectation of people. Most people do not have a drive to self-improve, to be perfectly honest. Like, sorry to expose, but it's true. Like, most people, they'll do it until it's like a little bit too real, and then they're like, yeah, I'm good. Like, nah, not doing this anymore. For some of us, it's like a life pursuit. It's like, oh yeah, give me more. But like, for some of us, not so much. Most of us, not so much, actually. And so if it's not really like a drive for you, there's always going to be that discrepancy between you and the person that like really enjoys, like, oh yeah, like, I love examining self so I can do better. Love that. And that's something that I've had to realize, that's been really hard for me. But has lended itself to having grace, is that, like, recently we had like a back and forth, and there's a life decision that I was making, and I just said, can you please just support me in this? Like, that's all I'm asking. And she said something like, what do you expect from mere like mortal people? Like, it was just like, and it was said just like it was so exaggerated and everything, and I'm just like, are you hearing yourself? Like, I didn't say that, but I was thinking that. I'm like, you're my mom. I'm asking for support. And instead of saying, yeah, sure, how can I support you? Or instead of being like, yeah, you know what, I could be supportive. Instead of that, no, it's like, I'm in the wrong for asking for support. Oh my gosh. So, and it's funny because at the time I was like really rattled by it, like, not hurt, but just like, whoa. But now it's like I could just laugh at that, because it's just an emotional discrepancy between us, you know? So anyways, walking in grace, walking with peace and love, of course, helps a lot. Recognizing where people come from has helped me a whole lot. realizing that, people can only meet you at the capacity that they themselves are at helps a lot. Um, I think that's pretty much all that I've learned about healing about this, because naming the situation also helps a lot, because before I didn't know, and so it was like, you know, I listened to some people who were saying like, oh, well, that's abusive, blah blah blah. Um, I probably shared different stories with them, but regardless, however you want to see it, like I said earlier, for me, that just, one, I didn't want to label it that way, and you might want to call that denial, but it didn't do anything for me. It's like, okay, so if I see her in that light and she's this horrible, evil person, like, now what do I do? Because now I don't want anything to do with her. And I'm not talking about actually abusive parents, by the way. Like, I know that that exists, and that's a totally different thing. I'm not talking about that. I also just realized that I shared the thing about both of them. Oh, yeah, I guess I did. I shared about, to give you an idea of like where they're at, like where, how things have been, how they go, is that like, um, I can't ask even for space, but yeah, I did share that, huh? Sorry. Um, but yeah, that's like one of my parents, my mom, would like be upset by my feelings, and then another one, just my dad, um, would just like, I pretend I do not see. Like, it just doesn't exist. It's like when I asked him for space, but I mean, I did so like respectfully. Like, I was like, I just don't have the capacity to handle this right now. He said something about like, oh God, what did he say? He said like, okay, well, like, oh yeah, first thing he said was, well, you've had a good life, or something like to the effect of like, you don't have a reason to complain. And I'm like, okay. It's so funny, like, I'm laughing, and you might be like, this girl really needs some help. But honestly, I'm laughing because it's like, wow, my perspective on this is so different. Not because it's like, gonna go cry after this. No, it's like, it's coming from a place of just realizing that my poor mom, my poor dad, like, did anyone ever tell them that they were proud of them? Did anyone ever give them a hug? Like, growing up and everything. Like, they sound like they're still operating from childhood wounds. And I feel like we all kind of are, to a degree. There's this quote that I heard, and I'm going to end it on this. Um, it said, if you do not heal, oh God, sorry. It's something like, if you do not heal your wounds or your past wounds or something, you will bleed on people who never cut you. I'm like, word. Wish I came up with that. Anyways, so yeah, the healing is a journey. It's not like okay, I've arrived. So, still work in progress, but I'm getting there. And I hope you get there too. If you're in a similar situation, God bless. I hope that you can get over this and heal. And, you know, I wish brighter days ahead for you. All right, that's all I have. I will be back next week with something, hopefully. Please give me an idea, because I don't have any. I am running dry. The artist is not arting. Whatever that meant. And if you want to see my other podcast, it's on my YouTube, Rachel Rants to You. And I'm going to be talking about dismantling capitalism, baby. All right, let's go. Bye.